context, I think, just like in business, we always think, how to blend, I think, spirituality with in business. And in politics also, you must be going through the same conflict. But at least in politics, what happens is, politics is different from business. Business, I think, we always look for win-win. Politics is always, I think, win-lose. Always, somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. So, how it is different spiritually, when you think about it, there is a win-win situation, win-lose situation. If you can speak, can make some comments on that, that would be great. And again, Radhanath Swami, I think last time I asked you how to enlighten ourselves in business world. And definitely after hearing a couple of years, your thoughts on that, I'm on the right path, I think, I'm sure, I think, I'm enjoying whenever I meet you, I listen to your wisdom. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And I'd like to say thank you to our hosts. Oh, there they are. Thank you very much for hosting all of us here in your home and for delicious lunch. Grateful. You're talking about how the difference in politics and business and a win-win or a win-lose. And I think it's a good question to begin our conversation, because it does go right to the heart of Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, where no matter what our profession or no matter our work or what we've dedicated our lives to, that if we embrace the spiritual principles that Krishna teaches us, then it's always win-win, no matter the outcome that may appear before us. That if we dedicate our work, that if we dedicate our lives in the loving service of Krishna, then that is the true meaning of success. There's no question about it. If we accept this as our goal, that our lives are not about serving ourselves or serving some material purpose, that it's about giving pleasure to Krishna, then that's where we find the greatest inspiration. It's where we find true courage. It's where we find real wisdom and real knowledge. And all of this comes from Krishna's teachings that he shares with Arjuna and that he shares with all of us. He teaches us not only to love him, but he teaches us how to love him, how we can cultivate that loving relationship with him in a very simple way, by chanting his holy names and by taking our hearts and embracing those names and embracing Krishna with our hearts and with our mind, and therefore seeing how that brings us closer to Krishna in every aspect of our lives. So we find that as we become closer to Krishna, the closer our relationship with him grows, the more we find our care and our attention grows for those around us. That if we want to be pleasing to Krishna, we have to take care of Krishna's children, understanding that he is our best friend, he is everyone's best friend, he's everyone's father, and therefore to make him happy, we have to take care of each other. We have to take care of the home that he's given us. In chapter 18, text 65 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend." So when we think about how we spend our lives and how we can actually apply Krishna's teachings in a practical way, in a daily basis, it becomes a seamless combination of spending time alone with Krishna every day, loving him, remembering him, serving him, and then taking that day and seeing how can we use this day to please him and to work for the well-being of others. I often hear from people who, young people who are looking at, how do you use your life in a way to be of service to others? And there are some very traditional ways in society that you can do that, whether it be through government service, through nonprofit service, through caring for your community, doing humanitarian work. These are very obvious ways to do it, but what Krishna teaches us in the Bhagavad Gita is about how we take our skills and our talents, whatever they may be, whether it be in business, whether it be in education, whether it be in healthcare, no matter what we choose to do with our lives, we can take those talents and dedicate them towards working for Krishna's pleasure and for the well-being of others. And that's really where it comes to the question of motivation, that as we develop our loving relationship with God, then our desire and our motivation to use our skills and our resources further to work for the well-being of His children will grow. This is the Bhagavad Gita in action. This is love for God in action, and this is how we can live a life where by doing this we can experience happiness now, and we can experience fearlessness no matter what challenges we face now, or the great challenge that confronts all of us at some point in facing death. To experience that without fear is what Krishna is offering to us. Krishna states in chapter 12, "For one who worships me, giving up all his activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, O son of Pritha, for him I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death." This personal relationship with Krishna and the desire that we have to be of service to others, which springs from that relationship, should be the foundation of our existence. This is what will get us through those times, whether things are going very well or things are going very badly, and the ups and downs that happen in our life and in our work. Krishna is the one constant refuge for each of us, no matter what's happening around us. And we can take shelter in Him just by repeating His holy names, thinking of His transcendental form and pastimes, and remembering His instructions to us in the Bhagavad Gita. I can tell you of many examples through my own life where I remember I was in officer training in Alabama, where we had many people staying in one room. There's no real private space. We talk about spending alone time with Krishna. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to a fancy location, go to a big temple, be in a certain situation, a certain circumstance. It's the state of our heart that matters when we talk about spending that time with Krishna. What I would do often in that situation was wake up earlier than everyone else. We have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. So I would wake up at 4 o'clock and go into the bathroom and put a towel over my head, and I would have my picture of Krishna and my japa beads, and I would spend my time with Krishna before we began a rigorous day of training. Similarly, when I was deployed and in other situations that don't have the conveniences that we have in our daily life, it was about making that time and remembering that Krishna is with us wherever we go, and remembering that during those tough times, during those tough moments, and during those happy times, Krishna is sitting there with us, always in our hearts, waiting for us to turn to Him. And that's where we learn that Krishna is there for each and every one of us, and that when we do that, that's where we can find real peace. That's where we find real happiness. He says in chapter 18, text 66, "Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear." He has delivered this timeless message through the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of Bhagavan, to each and every one of us. I was in a taxi in New York once, and taxi driver who started talking. He said, "Oh, what's your name?" "My name's Tulsi." He told me his name. And we started talking about the Bhagavad Gita and how he wished that more people learned and attempted to understand what Krishna is teaching us, and that the teachings that Krishna shares with us are timeless and applicable now, as they always have been and as they always will be into the future. Krishna is calling out to us and inviting us, telling us, "I'm waiting for you. You are my eternal child and friend. Just surrender unto me." He's waiting for us to offer our lives to him so that we can finally achieve this peace and happiness that we see in the world today so many people are seeking for. Whether they're driven out of a feeling of emptiness or a feeling of fear, this is what people are looking for: happiness, peace, and fearlessness. And when we give our lives to Krishna, we not only benefit ourselves, but we have the ability to have a tremendous impact on those around us. We have the ability to serve as an example, to encourage others, and to inspire others to do the same. In chapter 3, Krishna says, "Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues." I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize and offer my obeisances to Srila Haridas Thakur, whose disappearance we honor. We gain such valuable inspiration from his life and the example that he set. When Lord Chaitanya came here over 500 years ago to introduce all of us to the congregational chanting of the holy name as Yuga Dharma, it's of great significance that he named Haridas as the Acharya of the holy name. This was quite revolutionary because Haridas, as many of you know, was born into a Muslim family. Casteism and material considerations were quite prominent at that time. So his action really went against the norms, but it sent a very clear message, and it's a clear message that resounds strongly today about the significance and the importance of the Yuga Dharma, of chanting the holy names. His doing that showed us that this process of bhakti yoga is compatible with all religions, that these principles are universal, that they're for each and every one of us. Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur taught through their example the equality of all people, and that everyone has this wonderful and special, unique, equal opportunity to come to love God ourselves. So in this room of leaders from our community in so many different areas, may we all do our best to live our lives through our own examples, to embrace the Yuga Dharma, to spend our days chanting the holy names, not only with our lips, but with our actions and with our hearts. Namaste. Jai Shri Krishna.
Tulsi, it was truly beautiful, eloquent. Om Mokyantimidandasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshuru Militham Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vastyatya Deshatharine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patithanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I am very honored and very grateful to be with all of you today. Could everyone hear? Thank you. And special gratitude to you, Tulsi, for that eloquent and comprehensive devotional offering. It's beautiful. I feel Srila Prabhupada's blessing showering like millions of flower petals upon you. Actually, I'm speechless, but I have to speak something. So I'll just say a few things. Some realizations from what I just heard. Bhagavad Gita is for everyone. Srila Prabhupada explained that Arjuna had a family, wife, children. He had an occupation of a warrior. And he was in the most difficult crisis in his whole life. And it was at that time that the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to him. Because he had a great hunger to hear, a need. Similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, a great king, he was going to die in 7 days. And like Arjuna, in a very, very desperate condition, he inquired to understand, what is my duty? What is the duty of a person about to die? I don't have time to understand all the different philosophical arguments of various spiritual paths. What is the essence of all of them? It is that essence that we hear from the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tulsi was speaking about peace, about how to understand that true success is not based on worldly considerations of victory and defeat, honor, dishonor, happiness, distress. There's a higher principle. Krishna tells in the 5th chapter of Gita, Bhoktaram jagatapasam sarvalokamaheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam Yatmamam Shanti Vichchati. That true peace can only happen when we understand 3 principles. with realization that Krishna, who is Swami Bhagavan, the one God of all living beings, the one God who is manifested in all the great religions of the world, when we understand that He is the proprietor of everything, the proprietor, and ultimately everything is meant to be used in harmony with His will. And to have faith that He is truly the most intimate, loving, well-wishing friend for all of us. If we understand just those principles, we can find peace. We can be instruments of peace. There's really no shortage of anything in this world except compassion. And true compassion is not just a mental disposition. It's a state of consciousness. When we actually connect to that love for Krishna and connect to Krishna's love within ourselves, then naturally we live with compassion. We think with compassion. We speak with compassion. Because it's no longer about me and you. It's about the unity of all living beings in our relationship with Krishna. Vidyavanaya sampane brahmanika vihastini suni chaiva swapakija pandita samadarsha. The Bhagavad Gita defines wisdom not on the basis of how many degrees we have or how much data is stored in our brains. True wisdom is simply the ability to see every living being with equal vision. And that begins with understanding who I am, which is the fundamental basic principle of the Gita's teachings. Na jayate mariyate vakadacha. That we are that conscious force within this body. We're eternal, full of knowledge and full of joy. The soul does not die when the body dies. The soul does not change when the disposition of the mind goes through all sorts of fluctuations. We are the witness. And when we understand our own eternal nature, Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva buddha sanatana, we are all part of Krishna. We're all aham bija pratapita, we're all children of the same God. Then we can see our true spiritual relationship with all beings. Whatever color, whatever sex, whatever caste, whatever race, whatever species. Life is sacred. When we understand the sacredness of our own life. And in that state, we understand that real victory or defeat, real success or failure is not based on the outcome of our efforts. It's based on our purpose. The Srimad Bhagavatam tells a beautiful verse. When I first heard this, I was thinking, that's it. Atapum vijastrakshtas varana shrama vibhakasha shvanushtatasya dharmasya samsatira haritoshanam. That the real success, the perfection of all of our occupations or whatever role or status we are in society, as our Tulsi was explaining, whether we are in politics or business or farming, or even if we're little swamis, whatever our particular role in society is, its success is if we please Krishna. And I'd like to tell a little story from Ramayana, which really, to me, depicts this. We know, actually just a few weeks ago, I was in Nasik for the Kumbh Mela. And there was about 1.5 million people bathing at the same time at the Godavari River. I was feeling like one of those little insignificant people bathing. It's humbling when you're in a crowd like that. But in that place, long ago, Ravana stole Sita from Ram. Sita is the goddess of fortune. She's the consort of the Supreme Lord. I was waiting for that. Ravana wanted to take what was the property of Ram for his own selfish, greedy pleasure. Does that sound familiar? That's the story of this world. And as he kidnapped Sita, stole her away, he was flying over a place called Tarakate. It's still there today. And there lived a bird, a vulture, named Jatayu. And kind of like what you were saying, Haridas Thakur was considered an outcast. Well, vultures are kind of like outcasts among birds even. But Jatayu saw Sita being taken away, and she was crying out, Jatayu, Jatayu, please tell Ram that I have been kidnapped by Ravana. But don't try to stop him because you are very old. And he's very strong and young, and he will kill you. Don't try to stop him. Just tell Ram. But Jatayu, he could not sit there and let this happen. Even though he knew he really didn't have a chance. He called out to Ravana. First he was a little polite. He said, it's improper, it's against the codes of Dharma for you to steal somebody else's wife when they're not even there. At least fight with Ram over her, but don't just take her away like a jackal taking away, a lion's food. But Ravana ignored him. So Jatayu attacked. There's many pages of Ramayana talking about this battle. Jatayu really fought hard. And for a while he was winning. But because of his age, he became exhausted. He couldn't even move. And instead of allowing him to get his strength back, Ravana took the opportunity with his sword and cut off both of his wings. Jatayu fell to the ground, profusely bleeding. And Sita